Right, okay. This is probably the 7th time I've tried to do this. I'm getting a bit irate. That's why. Okay. So the reason why I'm making a video today is because I want to address certain issues. Right. One of the issues is the government with the JCVI, which is a Joint Committee on Vaccine Immunisations, are planning on giving 2 million children in the UK a flu nasal spray, okay, for the first time this coming winter. Now, I'd like to talk about the fact what's in the actual flu nasal spray. I'd like to talk about research studies that have been done, and I'd also like to talk about the government agencies who are involved. So, Fluenza Tetra vaccine mist. That's what they're going to be spraying up the kids' nose, okay? Contains 107, that's 10 million of each of 4 strains of reassorted live attenuated and genetically modified organisms for each nostril. That's 80 million viruses, give or take, per dose, designed to replicate inside a child's nasal passages. These engineered viruses include H1N1, which is swine flu, and 3 other strains that are based on what scientists admit to being the best guesses for the most likely influenza viruses in circulation this year. Live viruses up our nasal passages are dangerous because they can lead to encephalitis or swelling of the brain. They can also cross the blood-brain barrier and lead to long-term brain inflammation. Besides genetically engineered live viruses, monosodium glutamate is also going to be in the mix. Now, scientists have known for a long time that monosodium glutamate excites brain cells to death, basically, and that's why it's called an excitotoxin. And you have to excuse me, I'm no scientist here, but you know, excitotoxins cause all sorts of problems, brain inflammation, common to neurological diseases such as autism, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and there's documents to show it's particularly damaging to developing brains too. This is why monosodium glutamate has been banned in baby foods. It also has problems in that it can affect the not just the neurological but also behavioural problems such as language difficulties, loss of behavioural control, especially fear and anger, severely limiting the ability of the child to cope with life events. Also narcolepsy, which is a chronic sleep disorder, which means persons basically just falling asleep constantly. Now, I'll leave the links to all the things that I'm talking about if anybody's interested. Now, I'm going to read a review now. It's called the Cochrane Review. Cochrane. On vaccines for preventing influenza in healthy children, which was published in 2012 and reviewed 75 studies on flu vaccines with about 300,000 observations. Now, this is really, really important, okay, because it found extensive evidence of reporting bias of safety outcomes from trials of live attenuated influenza vaccines, which impeded meaningful analysis, and evidence of widespread manipulation of conclusions and spurious notoriety of studies. Well, it's obvious what that is saying, isn't it? You know, they are doctoring the facts, basically, so they can give you whatever they want to give, okay? Flu deaths are very rare among healthy children. Less than 2 in a million healthy children died during the 2009 swine flu pandemic, according to a Lancet study. And don't forget, this Joint Committee for the Vaccines and Immunisations was the same committee who pushed for a swine flu vaccination programme that fell to pieces when it was discovered by a lovely lady, Jane Burgermeister, who discovered that they were putting the live virus into the vaccines. And this joint committee, which is made up of pharmaceutical drug company insiders, was pushing this agenda and actually saying to doctors, you know, you'll get X amount of money for each vaccine, and you know, basically apparently they gave them a 24-page document all about it, and said on one of the pages it said, you know, you can remain quiet if it means you're going to get yourself into any trouble about this. You know, these people are not trustworthy whatsoever. Now, they also claimed that the cervix vaccine that was given to young girls was the side effects from that were minor. Okay, these are pharmaceutical people who are basically telling the government what they should do and what they shouldn't do. So that's how much of the power they've got. The fact that the law statute changed in 2009, which said that governments have to comply with whatever this group dictates, says it all, really. Now, the other thing that I want to mention is that the H1N1 actually weakens the immune system approximately half for 1 year. So, you know, here we have these people, these liars. They are all liars, okay? Government liars. Doesn't matter which side of the fence they sit on. They're all liars. They're all from the same corrupt group, okay? Now, on one hand, you know, you've got I'll give a link to this as well. There's a research study on the Ebola virus or virus-like particles, and I'll leave the link, that stated that basically any virus or anything can be overcome if your immune system is in good working order. Okay, that's the bottom line, right? So at a time like this, when they've constantly putting it out there in the media about Ebola all the time, right? Trying to force people into this mindset so they're going to get these vaccines, right? But at the same time, they're going to compromise all the kids' immune system. No. Something's badly wrong, okay, and it's obvious. So, influenza tetra vaccine missed, okay, just say no, right? Just say absolutely not. Keep your kids off school. Refuse it. Even if you've signed any documents or papers to say, you know, you will allow it, that was because you didn't have the information that they should have given you before they asked you to let your child have that. That goes without saying. Okay, this has got to be stopped. 2 million children in the UK. Now, one of the other things I wanted to address was this mention everywhere apparently that, you know, the Ebola virus is about to go airborne, or it's going to mutate and become airborne, and, you know, all this scaremongering again. So what I would like to do is just mention a report and where the whole thing has actually stemmed from, okay? And so just give me a second to get that on here. Okay, it's not easy when you're trying to, sorry, you know, talk amongst yourself for 5 seconds. Right, so facts, the facts, this is what facts count, you know, it's not conspiracies, it's facts, right? So you've got the whole thing has stemmed from this guy, and his name is David Sanders, and he has claimed that the Ebola virus is likely to become airborne, right? And he's also admitted that his theory is not evidence-based, right? Now, as for the proof about Ebola being transmitted by coughs and colds and whatnot, right, it's based on a 2-year study by the Canadian Food Agency, and they conducted a study on how Ebola is transmitted. But there's a major flaw in the scientific method about why they came to this conclusion, because during the study the pigs carrying the virus were housed in pens with the monkeys in close proximity but separate, a very flimsy wire barrier, and in fact the close proximity mentioned is 20 centimetres, that's about 7 inches, which means that the pigs and the monkeys were within arm's length of each other and could have touched one another at any given time. It also means that it's not a controlled scientific study, it's an assumption, right? So the infected pigs 7 inches away from uninfected monkeys, you know, the monkeys could have touched the pigs, they could have touched their urine, they could have touched their, you know, their feces, anything. It's not a scientific study. That's another thing that I wanted to mention. So now I'll leave a link at the bottom to some of the things that I've said on this video, and I would also say ask parents, you know, I'll leave a template letter that you can use either to write to the papers or share it in schools or put it wherever you can put it, right? But basically, you know, children getting the flu, okay, all you've got to do is to make sure that your children's immune system is working fully, obviously, by giving them, make sure that they get all the vitamins and the minerals and everything that they need, that they're eating properly, you know. There's plenty of advice out there. Don't let them have loads of chemicals, chemical laden sweets and all that, you know. Just do the right thing and make sure that your children, you know, are in the best of health, and you don't have to be giving them sprays up the nose, okay? Because they're not going to let you know the dangers of what might happen. And they've brought in clauses now where they don't even have to, they're above the law because you can't prosecute them, okay? And this new tip thing that's coming in is basically saying these pharmaceutical companies are now fighting for the right to not have to tell you about any studies or anything, and if the government stops them from making money, they kill the government. This whole corrupt thing's got to stop. It's really, really got to stop, because it's only because if we're buying into this stuff and allowing them to do whatever they want to us and our children, that we are all basically going to get really, really sick, right, and die. So for goodness sake, say no to anything flu related, okay? Right, well, thanks for watching.